conversation about the very first travel marketplace that is based entirely on blockchain. We're going to get into what Tripio is all about, benefits that Tripio can bring travelers in terms of connecting between their goals, where they want to go, where they want to stay with service providers, and we're going to get into the details. So we want you to send your questions in. If you're watching this live stream, please send your notes in the comments, ask any questions that you'd like. My name is Amelia Rose Earhart, and I'm here in Denver, Colorado. I am basically a blockchain and cryptocurrency enthusiast at this point. I am an investor myself, and for the last couple of years, I've just been learning everything I possibly can about blockchain and cryptocurrency. And then outside of that world, I'm a pilot. In 2014, I flew around the world in a single-engine airplane, and it was all in a big goal to recreate the flight of Amelia Earhart from the 1930s. And that really spurred my love of travel, of course. But beyond that, I look back and I think, gosh, the benefits of blockchain in terms of travel and even aviation, it gets my mind racing. So I'm happy to be your host today here on this AMA for Tripio. And the other two guests that I have with me are experts and enthusiasts as well in the cryptocurrency and blockchain world. And the first is George Zhu, who is the founder of Tripio. He founded it in 2018, and then several other companies. We've also got Jimi Smoot, who's a software engineer working on various blockchain products. So at this point, we're going to let George introduce himself and tell us a little bit about your history in terms of blockchain and cryptocurrency, and give us a little intro to how you came up with the idea of Tripio.
Thanks, Amelia. So my name is George. I was born and raised in China. Then I moved to the States to study and work. I lived in the States for about 15 years, working for a few companies like Microsoft and Amazon. And then in 2014, I moved back to China and basically started my own business. My first business that I worked on is called Baichang Hui. Its goal is to become the Airbnb for Chinese consumers, but not focusing on lodging, but focusing on events and activities. And then my story with crypto goes a little bit way back. So I remember in 2011 or 2012, I was working as a development manager in Amazon. And one day, a member on my team told me that he invested in this digital currency called the Bitcoin. And I remember I looked it up online. Its price was somewhere around 400, 500 USD. I was like, this thing is pretty interesting. So I started reading about blockchain and Bitcoin. And then 2 weeks later, he told me his online exchange has been broken into by some hackers. And he lost a lot of money because of it. And that kind of cast some doubts in my mind. And unfortunately, I did not put much effort into understanding Bitcoin because of that incident. And looking back, obviously, this was a mistake. So after that, a few years has passed. Back in about this time last year, Ethereum has published a new set of protocols that really changed in my view, changed the way blockchain can provide in terms of services. So me and also my team became much more interested in learning how blockchain works and how it may potentially change the consumer market. So in late 2017, we decided to use blockchain to innovate in the travel industry, hence become the project what we call Tripio today. And our goal, because the team has a lot of experience in the travel industry, we found that the characteristics of blockchain matches the pain point we try to solve in this industry. Namely, there is a lot of centralized trust. There's quite a lot of inefficiencies in the supply chain, and also there are a lot of inconveniences around people wanting to travel across borders, and also in terms of payment conversion. So to cut a long story short, we spent about 3 months and before the project goes public. And right now we are focusing on building the set of protocols that will drive the Tripio ecosystem, as well as some DApps that will showcase the ability our blockchain technology can bring to the consumer world. Thank you.
All right, great. Thank you, George. We'll get to more questions with George in just a minute. Now, Jimi Smoot, you run the LA Blockchain Developer Nights in LA. That's got to be a wild scene. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I've been writing code since I was a young teenager. I fell in love with it very young, and have just kind of done that pretty much throughout my career. Ended up going to UNLV, but then kind of got bored in CS school and wanted to learn something different. So I went into marketing. Graduated with a marketing communications degree, worked in the advertising industry for a little while, all meanwhile still writing code. And more recently, over the last, I'd say like 5 or 6 years, I've been consistently writing code. And the thing I've been really interested in recently in the last 2 years is the blockchain. There's a lot of interesting potential applications. I think there's still a lot of things to learn about it, and I'm skeptical of a lot of uses, but there are some interesting things there. You know, specifically from a currency perspective, it makes a ton of sense to me. So I've been working pretty closely in the space for a while. I do a bit of consulting in the space. I run the blockchain developer nights in LA here. So if you're on Meetup, if you're ever in LA, look us up. It's a great event. Yeah, that's kind of what I've been doing. So I'm an engineer. If you have any questions tech-wise.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much, Jimmy. All right, well, before we get to our questions, we want to go over a great opportunity for you here. If you want to follow a few steps, you can get qualified for an airdrop. We're going to be sending out 333 trios for each participant. So what you can do is follow, like, retweet on Twitter. Just go to twitter.com/thetripio. Invite 2 friends to join, which is pretty simple to do, and then comment #TripioToTheMoon and 1 AMA question at YouTube Live. Submit your question. So after all that, you can fill out the Google form and the team will contact you. And it's as simple as that. And we'll put links in the comments as well where you can access all this information if you're watching the video once it's posted after our live session here. So George, I want to start with you. You know, the travel industry has so many hands in it, from online booking sites to travel agents to the hotels, just so many people trying to say, we want to take a piece of that fee that travelers and customers are paying. So let's start off by talking about the benefits of incorporating blockchain into the process of booking travel.
Sure. So you're right. The travel industry is huge, and most people like traveling. So it is indeed a very interesting industry, and also it's also among the first industries to be impacted by the last wave of innovation, such as the internet, right, and the mobile internet. So I think the biggest benefit blockchain can bring to this industry is that it's essentially a platform where strangers can trust each other, right? So today, many people use OTAs, online travel agencies, to book hotels, packages, rental cars. The biggest reason is that they feel that they can trust this platform to provide accurate information. When they get to their destination, they trust that the service is somewhat vetted by this platform, and perhaps also they feel that they can trust some comments that's provided by other travelers to the destination. So it's indeed a very good service. So I do think the current online OTAs serve a very good purpose. However, customers are also paying a pretty big price because of it. For example, if you pay $100 through an online travel agency, approximately 15 to 20% of that fee actually goes to the online travel agency. That's what supports their stock values, right? So consequently, the supplier only gets maybe 75 to 80% of the of what you pay, and that's how they use to provide service and products to you. So in our view, the system does provide value, but with the emergence of blockchain technology, we feel that we can really create this trust network with a much cheaper alternative, and hence would allow a more efficient pass of value among consumers and suppliers. So for example, on our Tripio website, when you book a travel, lodging, or other type of services, 100% of what you pay goes to the supplier directly, and that's what they use to provide service and product to you. So we think that's the biggest advantage, is a more efficient transfer of value between consumers and suppliers. Number two is a more personalized experience for consumers on the blockchain. So because the blockchain provides a way for us to really track the account's behavior, as well as making it very hard to fraud, very hard for someone to fraud the system, we can really build customer experience that rewards good behavior and also punish bad behavior. For example, if you are a good traveler, you always arrive promptly to destinations, and you never cause any damages during your trips, and your supplier rates you highly, you should get a better rate when you book your travel next time. And many suppliers are willing to do that. The difficulty they have today is they don't have an easy way to tell a authentically good traveler from a bad one, right? And blockchain provides a way for us to do that. So that's another benefit. A third main benefit is that it provides a way for communities to self-govern and self-evolve. When you book through a big corporation, obviously the corporation sets the rules, and it may or may not be what you think is fair and just. On the blockchain world, the rules are set by the community, and it has the possibility to evolve as people's opinion change, as the environment change, right? And especially we're talking about the international market. Different sections of the world may have different rules, and we think community governance is really a better way to resolve conflicts in the future. So those are the three main benefits I see that the blockchain world can bring to the travel industry, and that's the primary reason driving the team to put a lot of effort into making that a reality.
Absolutely. And, Charles, your background in the travel industry is incredible. You were the corporate vice president at the second largest online travel agency in China. So this isn't something that you're viewing from the outside looking in and saying, we should come in and change the industry. This is what your background is in. So you understand the inherent problems with online travel booking. And I think that is such a neat benefit. And I want to ask both of you, George and Jimmy, talk about how the future of blockchain can incorporate itself into the travel world. What will travel look like when we're able to trust reviews because they're based on blockchain and we're really working within this decentralized network? So can you both give a little insight? Maybe we start with Jimmy about what you think the future will look like.
Yeah, sure. I think the interesting application here. I mean, the reviews and all of those kind of things are interesting as well. But the really interesting thing to me is being able to have a currency that can work also across borders, which is something I think that's huge for the blockchain. Meaning that if you're jump on a plane in LA and then you land somewhere, you don't necessarily have to convert your currency over to that particular area. So. Yeah, I mean, that's something I think could be really interesting for that. As far as like a trustless system, anything where you have like data that you're trying to make sure is valid and trustful amongst a lot of different people, in a sense, for blockchain as well.
Mm-hmm. And George, do you want to add anything to that about really is one thing we haven't talked about quite yet is competitors to Tripio. Are there other groups out there trying to work within blockchain and incorporating travel? And how does Tripio compare to groups that are already established at this point?
Sure. So there are what I say people who work in the same field as we do. As I mentioned, the travel industry is a big industry, and it's also by nature global. So there are teams in the States, teams in Europe, and teams in Southeast Asia who are working on similar goals. And we think that's a good thing. Our goal is to create a better experience for customers. And we hope we get to do it. But if our efforts contribute to the overall evolution of the industry, that's also a good thing. So the difference between us and some of the other teams doing similar things is that one, our team has a lot of travel industry-related experience. We have a team of about 100 people. Combined, we have several hundred years of working experience in this field. And also, we are a relatively mature team. The team has worked together for more than 3 years. We really think we got our rhythm going already on this. And third is because we have acted fairly fast. So we got our basic building blocks already up and running. And we, at this point, it's I think it's healthy competition to see which team bring out the breakthroughs the fastest, right? And also, it will also depend on how communities react to our proposals. I believe blockchain projects has a very important aspect where the community has to rally around the ideas that's put forth by different teams. And because of our experience, we really think we understand the customer needs fairly well at this point. But it remains to be seen how this industry evolve in the next 3 to 5 years. We're doing this for the long haul, so it will be a while before before we see the real change or the big changes coming.
Right. Boy, that is good to hear, though, that you're in it for the long haul, because those, you can't expect overnight success with something like that. But I have to say, you have an impressive backing already, and the whole project has seen tremendous success. So talk a little bit about the progress that you've already seen and who some of your backers are.
Sure. The biggest backer of ours is our community, right? So because of our backgrounds, we in our past projects, we have accumulated good support from industry veterans, from investors, and from a group of early stage consumers. So those are really form the core of our community early on. And then our process to go public really went smoothly. So we get to focus on the technical work for the last couple months. And some major milestone we have achieved is we have created already a unified incentive system for travel-related points. And also we have tokenized room nights. So the room nights is the industry term that describes the unit of commerce in the travel industry. It's essentially one night stay at a room, right? So we have tokenized this asset type, and we're building protocols around the sale, the transfer, the cancellation, and all the life cycle stages of room nights at this point. We have also launched a better website that you have used that kind of provides early feedbacks from our early adopters. And we have made good progress in partnering with suppliers of lodging for those that are willing to try new technologies and start to form this ecosystem that really I think will be the determining factor on the success of this travel industry. So things have been progressing fairly well.
That is great to hear. Now, both of you, George and Jimmy, you both have engineering backgrounds, and a lot of the early crypto enthusiasts and people who really understand the process, they have an engineering background, they have a coding background, they get what you're up to. Jimmy, in your perspective, why does Tripio make sense for the travel industry? And as far as really taking travel to the next level of where it needs to be on that decentralized system where we can trust the reviews, where we can easily have this universal currency to spend all over the world. From an engineer's perspective, why is Tripio a smart advancement?
You know, I actually like the idea behind the tokenization, which was just mentioned. I mean, I can envision different types of situations where people are able to like almost create their own insurance, or even companies at large are able to kind of create their own insurance and different kind of, you know, hedging and these kind of things. If you can actually tokenize rooms and trade those things. So that's actually very interesting. It's kind of a layer above the basic travel concept, you know, just booking and things like that. It's kind of, there's applications above that individuals can use and also corporations can use. I mean, if you look at, for instance, what makes Southwest Airlines here in the States so successful, it's their ability to buy, they buy fuel option contracts and different things like that to keep their fuel costs low. So if you can kind of think of like something like, you know, what this technology can do to create that type of thing as well in the space, that could be interesting.
Absolutely. We want to go to one of the questions that's coming in as part of the AMA. We got a question from a viewer, and this makes a lot of sense to me. Before I get to the question, the background is in switching from a centralized system to a decentralized system when it comes to protecting customer information. And George, I want to direct this question your way. The viewers say, is personal information more secure on Tripio than on other travel sites? Can you explain some of the benefits of decentralizing where information is stored, at least here in the States, with recent experiences with Experian, with Home Depot? I mean, so many groups. Our information feels like it's getting stolen and hacked all the time. So is it safe with Tripio?
It will be safe for Tripio. Privacy, in my view, is actually also a field that the blockchain technology can change or innovate for better results. It is not currently our main focus. We're still trying to kind of put our efforts or focus our efforts in making the travel scenarios work. So to protect people's, but I think there are some fundamental benefits blockchain brings to the table in terms of privacy. For example, essentially your identity is a wallet, right, on Ethereum, and it really currently nobody can make the physical link between your account to your own identity unless you consent to that. So that part is that benefit is kind of the degree of separation is enabled by blockchain itself. There is a question on how do personal information get stored when you do a travel-related transaction on the blockchain. I personally think the risk here is really how do the lodging providers secure personal data. For example, when you check in, you still have to provide your IDs and related information to the lodging provider. And right now, we can't, or because of legal regulations, we cannot really change that aspect of the transaction. And I think that's the point of risk that's faced by not only Tripio, but any travel-related companies at this point. We at Tripio as a platform, we don't intend to keep any personal data on the platform. We're mostly interested in facilitating this transaction. And all we need essentially is your online wallet address. Therefore, there's really no leakage of information possible in our design. And in the future, we also have a vision of how online identity can be used to improve customer experience, and that we have to some of the details still have to be fleshed out, but essentially it has to be giving control to customers who has access to their data, and the security will be guaranteed by using algorithms that basically one-way encryption. As long as you have your own personal key and don't let other people get hold of a personal key, your information should be securely locked based on the algorithms that we use. So I do believe it is a safer alternative to the current way, especially when you travel, for example, to some less developed countries. You will see that the hosts or the operation people actually write down your information on a piece of paper on a notebook. That's really a lot of risk, in my opinion, of your personal information. And we hope to change that in the near future.
There's a long way to go, but I certainly see a lot of potential there too. So thank you to Marty for sending that question in. We got another question coming in from Casey Ames. And the question is Tripio moving away from ERC20 onto the Tron blockchain, and talk about the Tron partnership?
So right now we are not, well, it is always a possibility. And also we're watching developments on different chains very closely. Right in the near future, we will continue to be a ERC20 play. And so the Tron partnership, right now, a lot of things are still in the works. So maybe we'll address it through our official channels very soon. But to answer the question, we're not moving away from ERC20 at this point.
Okay, great. Before we get to our next question coming in from one of our viewers here, I want to go to Jimi. Can you talk a little bit about the differences in views and perceptions around blockchain in travel and cryptocurrency between China and the US? Because Tripio being based in China, you know, just style of even just the website, you know, needing to translate and match the differences in a travel booking site here in the US versus what Chinese customers will see. What's your take when you look at the website so far?
Yeah, I think when it comes to the blockchain and perception, I think in different markets, in the US, we have an interesting type of setup where it's not, I guess, not required is the best term. We have Visa and MasterCard. We have these payment systems that work really well. But when you look at other markets in the world, that kind of thing doesn't necessarily hold up as well. So I think the use case for the blockchain in a lot of different markets makes a ton more sense than it does in the United States, which is I think kind of what you're seeing from a regulatory. I think a lot of people are thinking about it in terms of security and all these different things. We haven't figured that stuff out yet, but yeah, I think that's probably a big part of it. Just people are at least in the States. When I talk to my wife, she's like, I don't see what's the point? I don't get it. And I try to explain to her, you don't get this is the first of its class. It's the concept of identity that's online. It allows people to interact and exchange with each other without borders and all of these things. But she's like, but I can just Venmo you, so I mean, so like in the United States, things work really well. I think in some areas of Europe, depending on where you are in Europe, things work really well. And depending on the market, that can change market by market. And I think in the East, people have really, really embraced this and are thinking actively about this paradigm because they kind of live in kind of in a different type, like in an emerging scenario versus us here, where we have all these payment systems already set up. So yeah.
Right. George, I want to come back to a question that's coming in from one of the viewers here. At least here in America, we are huge on our hotel points, right? If we are loyal to one brand, we want to accumulate points so that we can get those free stays. Same with our airline miles, same with car rental companies. The question that's coming in is from Marty as well. Is it possible to convert rewards from airlines, hotels, et cetera, into Tripio tokens and really that unified incentive system that Tripio's built into its whole process?
Sure. So I also lived in the States for 15 years, and I've accumulated points from various suppliers. And in my personal experience, I had some good use of some, uh, I believe, airline points where I exchanged them for some good magazines. But for the large part, I think most of those points are sitting in my accounts, either expire or they're still sitting there. I think the problem with point system today used by different companies is that everyone tries to build their own walled garden. I understand that because for the companies, they're essentially trying to use points to activate old users, right? And they want to keep reselling to the consumers. So that's a good purpose. However, on the consumer side, it may not serve their interests very well. For example, because I went on an international trip to a European country and I somehow got 500 points from Air France, for example, in my loyalty program, and the next trip to France may be 5 years away, right? So those points really is not serving its purpose, and we believe uh, a better way for consumer and the companies is to create a more fluid, exchangeable points among partners. By that I mean, for example, when a airline issue your points, you get to use them exclusively for airline products, for their products for a certain period, maybe 1 year, right? And afterwards, you get to exchange those points to either to Tripio or to another participating merchant, maybe Subway in your neighborhood, and you get to really utilize the value provided by those points. And I think from an economics point of view, that's really a more efficient use of value. For the consumers, they get to use get more out of their points, and for the vendors or for the suppliers, it's also a better use for their funds. Because especially for small to mid-sized companies, how to keep track of those points, because some regulation says they are liabilities, is really a burden that they may not need to take in the future while our unified point system become more popular among vendors. So that's our thoughts on this particular subject.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. It's sort of a global currency when it comes to points, right? If we can ditch fiat currency and be able to spend equally and do it with a safe, trusted method, why can't we do it with our points as well? So your whole idea around Tripio, purchasing online, booking travel, is really through the use of Ethereum smart contracts. And before I agreed to host the AMA here, I really wanted to understand the process first. And so I was able to go online on the beta site and book a room and try it out. And the process was just like, you know, hopping on and using Expedia, Travelocity, any hotel booking site, even similar to direct booking through the hotel chain itself. Went online, searched the hotel, put in my dates. I got the rooms that were available, chose the booking, put my name, my phone number, got my verification code, and then basically scanned the QR code and paid with Ethereum. Is there much more to it than that? I mean, is an Ethereum payment the way that you expect most payments to process in the beginning, or will you accept other coins?
Sure. So Ethereum right now, because of its popularity and also its wide adoption, is the payment method we support currently on the platform. However, because we are a decentralized, we have a decentralized mission, we will accept new payments in the future. Exactly which payments to accept depends on the community and also our kind of the future involvement of the industry. But essentially, we are the biggest goal of ours is really to make travel as easy, as user-friendly as possible. So whatever it needs, we need to accomplish to address that goal, we will go to that direction.
Well, that's exciting, and it was very simple to just, you know, open up my Coinbase account and do it with my phone. It felt empowering to see it work and never take a credit card out. No credit card information was sent out online on, you know, a public Wi-Fi network, anything like that. So makes a lot of sense there. We're going to start wrapping up here in just a few minutes. Before we get back to George, I want to ask Jimmy to tell us a little bit about your podcast. You've got a show called The Prior Transformation where you talk blockchain and crypto. Tell us about the show and, you know, let people know why they should start tuning in and follow your channel. Yeah, absolutely. So highly encourage everybody to stop what they're doing right now, pull out their phone and subscribe to The Prior Transformation, you know, if your phone's available. It's, you know, really it's an exploration of tech and business through the lens of an entrepreneur and software engineer. So we talk about a lot of things. We talk about, you know, blockchain quite a bit. We also talk about artificial intelligence and those kind of things. I interview some entrepreneurs who have been successful, some of them who haven't been successful. I kind of interview a good gambit of folks. I mean, you know, I talk to different types of, you know, Navy SEALs and different types of people just about, you know, kind of the thought process. So the idea of the prior transformation comes from a mathematics concept called, it's actually from Bayesian thinking. And the idea is that you have like a current, you know, worldview, which is your, I guess you can consider it your prior worldview. And then as you add more data and you learn more, you update that. So it's really called a prior update. You know, that's kind of what the term is called. But I didn't really like the word update because it kind of sounded like a newscast or something. So I decided to call it the prior transformation. So if you're interested in growing and learning new things and kind of, you know, having something jar your perception, you definitely should check it out. Awesome. Well, I'm a podcast junkie, so I will definitely be subscribing and send out those links as well. George, as we wrap things up here, I want to say thank you, first of all, for starting a discussion like this, for, you know, founding something as innovative and as necessary as Tripio. I mean, what I'm taking away from it is the fact that you're going to bring costs down because you're cutting out the middleman. You've got a much better customer experience because we can trust those reviews that we're reading online. And the best part of all is that it's on blockchain and it's part of a decentralized network, which I think helps keep all of us feeling a lot more safe when we're putting our personal information out there. So in closing, George, what would you like to say to folks who are curious to learn more about Tripio? Where can they go to find your white paper? Where can they follow you guys online?
Sure. Thank you, Amelia. So everyone can, if interested, can search for us online. We have our Facebook page, we have Twitter account, and we also have our website, trip.io. And I want to emphasize that I do think the blockchain will change change the world, if you will, in the next few years. And but I think it's more than a tech change. I think for blockchain projects to be really successful, it really needs to combine technology, sociology, morality, and community, everything together. That's why it's so fundamental. And in that sense, I don't think any team can succeed in this world by working alone, right? I really think the future will be created by the communities together in setting the rules, community governance, and also help the healthy evolvements as the industry, as well as people, change, right? So if for the audience out there, if you are interested in being part of this change, please reach out to us, and we'll get you. We invite you to try our products early on, and also listen to your feedback. I do believe together we can really innovate this travel industry to make it better for the international market and audience as a whole. But we need the community support. So if you're interested in being that community, we would definitely like to hear from you. Absolutely. And by the way, I love the name Tripio. Personally, I think it's going to catch on like wildfire. And on top of that, the logo, the little hot air balloon, is one of my favorite parts about it. And in your honor, I wore my earrings that are little paper airplanes, right? Because these, to me, they symbolize travel, right? And the fact that travel, the most fascinating people I know have been all over the world, and they just want to go everywhere. So the fact that Tripio can make that easier and safer and more streamlined is a wonderful thing. So
Thank you so much for everybody who watched and tuned in. Thanks for the questions as well. We will link to everything that we've mentioned in the comments section, so share the video, follow Tripio on Twitter and all social platforms, and if you have any questions, send them Tripio's way. So we'll see you guys next time, and thanks so much for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.